The gentleman from Colorado is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the gentlewoman from Indiana for the customary 30 minutes. I ask unanimous consent to revise and extend my remarks, and I yield myself such time as I may consume.
Without objection.
Madam Speaker, today is a serious day, a serious moment for this institution. Apparently, according to my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, House Republicans, we're gathered here today to discuss a very consequential question, a consequential issue facing the country, Madam Speaker: home appliances, toasters, microwaves, refrigerators. Those are the topics, Madam Speaker, that House Republicans have chosen to waste this institution's time on. Of all the challenges facing the country, of all of the issues facing our community, apparently their top priority is the so-called Hands-Off Home Appliances Act. Madam Speaker, you may recall that Republicans noticed a Rules Committee meeting on this very same bill just a few weeks ago. That bill was then hastily removed. We assumed, because our colleagues on the other side of the aisle were essentially shamed into pulling it from the agenda. They realized that a bill on home appliances probably doesn't meet the moment, considering all of the real crises that we have going on. But apparently that shame only lasted for a few weeks, because today's legislation, Hands-Off Home Appliances Act, is back apparently for round two. And just to be clear, Madam Speaker, I know you're aware of this. This is a package deal. This isn't the only appliance bill that Republicans have noticed for this body to consider. The Liberty and Laundry Act, this is the real title of the bill that House Republicans would like this body to consider. The Refrigerator Freedom Act, the Clothes Dryers Reliability Act, the Affordable Air Conditioning Act, the Stop Unaffordable Dishwasher Standards Act. Those bills, I guess, didn't make the cut for this particular rules debate. I suppose we'll take those up next week. Madam Speaker, this House should be focused on addressing the consequential challenges of our time, not on political games, messaging bills. How far this body has fallen. The same august chamber where James Madison and Abraham Lincoln once served, now debasing itself, debating the fate of microwaves and toaster ovens, because that's how House Republicans have decided to spend their time and their majority. My colleagues, regrettably, unfortunately, are out of touch with the priorities of the American people. The American people expect, rightfully so, for this chamber to address the issues that they care about, not waste time on nonsense bills. And by the way, Madam Speaker, the rest of the measures that we'll consider today, unfortunately, are more of the same. H.R. 7109, the so-called Equal Representation Act, is plainly unconstitutional. Any plain reading of the Constitution in the 14th Amendment makes clear that this bill is unconstitutional. House Republicans pushing forward anyways. Another bill that we're considering today, yet another CRA, this time on apparently a bulletin that was issued by the Securities and Exchange Commission. I have lost count of how many days we've wasted in the last 17 months considering CRAs. Every week, another CRA submitted by our colleagues on the other side of the aisle. One would have hoped, Mr. Speaker, that House Republicans would have learned their lesson a year ago after wasting our time on CRAs for the lesser prairie chicken and the northern long-eared bat, that perhaps this House could focus its attention on more substantive matters. Unfortunately, that has not been the case. Finally, Mr. Speaker, the last bill that this body will consider this week, the Mining Regulatory Clarity Act. Of course, this bill is, I know, familiar to you, Mr. Speaker. It is to me, because we voted on a rule about this particular bill 7 days ago. Why is it back before us a week later? I'll tell you why. Republican leadership has lost control of the Rules Committee. They lost control months ago. Now they often lack a procedural majority here on the House floor. Last week, our colleague, Representative Ledger Fernandez, introduced a motion to recommit. The motion to recommit was very simple. It pointed out the fact that the Republicans' mining bill would allow foreign adversarial nations to mine American land for free. What happened to that motion to recommit? It passed. 6 Republicans joined every Democrat in supporting that motion to recommit. Those familiar with Schoolhouse Rock would understand that that means the bill goes back to committee, the House Committee on Natural Resources, where I serve, Mr. Speaker, where you serve, so that we could work out the issues that this body on a bipartisan basis identified with this bill 7 days ago. Instead, House Republicans have brought the very same bill back to this body for its consideration without going to the Natural Resources Committee. I have no idea how the 6 Republicans who voted for the motion to recommit last week can possibly defend or rationalize a vote against the motion to recommit this week. I suppose we're going to find out. Mr. Speaker, there are better ways for this chamber to be spending its time. I'd implore the Speaker, I'd implore my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, let's get serious. Let's work together to address some of the consequential challenges that face our respective states, our country. And let's stop with these nonsense bills. I implore you. With that, Mr. Speaker, I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman from Colorado reserves. The gentleman from Indiana is recognized.